All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. My name is Federico, and what I have for you today is based on a request that someone made on the Facebook group, which was about making an ornament that is based on this tile game, a well-known tile game. And someone in the comments actually suggested that we have a Scrabble keychain already, and that we could possibly use that to start the design. And I think that was a great idea. So I think the intent is to try and do something like this ornament, but also in the comments, someone commented that they wanted to make a large version to put on the wall with the family names, which I think is a cool idea too. So I think the purpose of this one today, of this live stream today, is to kind of hack the one that we have already. So let's get started with that. So I'm gonna go to the templates page and Cuttle for the official templates. And if we look over here on the keychains, the keychain section, there's this one called the Letter Tile Keychain. So I'm gonna open that up. And we're gonna be making changes to this one. So I'm gonna open it in the Cuttle editor. There's this button up here to do that. And so I'm gonna click there. And as usual, there is this sign here, this prompt here at the bottom that says, this project is owned by Cuttle, make a copy to save your changes. So let's start by doing that. So every change, all the changes that we make are gonna be saved. So I'm gonna hit copy the project. So that's gonna save a copy to my projects folder that is private. So you can make a bunch of changes to it and they're gonna be saved. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna change the title right away because I wanna be like organized about it. So let's make it the Letter Tile Ornament. So the way this letter tile works is you can enter any name here, like my name, and it creates this keychain. Also, by the way, this one was designed by, if we look at the credits down here, was designed by Brian Wente, who is like a cool member of the community. There is a link here to his projects. I'm just gonna look at them. He makes really cool stuff. He's like super creative. And he has taken Cuttle to like really cool places. And just to quickly plug it, he also started an independent shop from the Cuttle ornaments, from the Cuttle templates. And the link is right here, is at Widgetworks. And so a lot of these are also Cuttle templates that he made independently that you can purchase from him. So I just kind of wanted to give him credit because we're going to be hacking his template a little bit. So we're going to be using it as a starting point. All right, so let's go back to doing these. So I'm here with my letter tile ornament. And so I'm going to, I want to be able to like, instead of having a single keychain, I want to be able to grab, say, multiple, keychain-like things and have different words with the same settings. So we have the name and the orientation, the horizontal or vertical orientations. So I want to be able to like mess around with that, but have multiples of them. So, so let's start with that. So I think if looking at the structure, the way the components are structured here, there is this tile object. I mean, there is this one that we call the cut. So that has like all the kind of unions applied to it. There is this tile object. There is this speller, and so I think the speller is the one that has all the is the component that creates the name itself before in the cut the hole gets added. I can see that there is a little hole for the keychain gets added. So I'm gonna grab the speller component and I'm gonna duplicate it. So I'm gonna hit here on the right, and there's an option that says duplicate component. And I'm actually gonna change the name. I'm gonna call it because instead of a name, it's gonna be a word. I guess I could call it the single word. Yeah, I'll use word. And so what I want to, what happens right now, if I grab the speller, then everything is going to spell whatever it says here. So I want to make it kind of operate independently. So just kind of looking at it, this part is perhaps a little bit elaborate or advanced, but follow me. And then at the end, I'm also going to be sharing these modified templates so you can play with it. But for some of you, this might be kind of interesting. So the way this works right now is that there is this component called the name right here. And if I click on this tile object, what I see is that the name is, this name component is used in different ways. So I can see that the name here, it's applied to this letter. You can see it right there. The name is also applied right here. So I can see the word name. And then if I even look further, let's see. It's also applied right here. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, instead of having this name parameter that is global, that applies to everything in the project, I'm going to create one that it's sort of individual to this word component I just duplicated. So what I'm going to do here is on the right, I'm going to create a parameter that it's part of this word component. Like, as you can see right here, you can see that this is the word component. This is kind of like the reference for the scores. But I'm going to create a new parameter, and I'm going to call it the word. I'm just going to change the order here so it's kind of more clear. And so that word is of the type text, because we want to be writing text there. So I need to change the type to text. And I don't know, let's start with some kind of Christmassy word, something like snow. So now I want to be able to change wherever I see the parameter name, I want to change it for the parameter word. So I'm just going to kind of go around. So I'm going to click on the tile repeat here. Let's see if I can make it more clear. So here on the tile repeat, I see that the name is used for the number of repetitions. So instead of name, I'm going to, once again, this name right here, it's going to get replaced for word instead of name. So that's basically the change. I don't know, this kind of reminds me of the olden times when people would learn coding by replacing little things on the HTML documents. Maybe that reference dates me a little bit, but anyway. So instead of name, I'm going to type word. And so I can see that now, it's a 4-letter word, snow. So it's kind of working. So now I can click here. So instead of name, I'm going to type word. And I think I'm getting there. So I'm basically there. It says snow, but like the last thing I need to do is that the scores are also taken from the name. So I need to type here word. So the scores like are appropriate to the to each letter to be like proper. So actually let me double check. So W is 4. Yeah, there you go. The score is good. Oh yeah, so I think I'm able to use it now. So if I were to create just another blank component here, I don't know, call it the arrangement. If I drag a word, the one that I just created, it should have its kind of independent text from the global name. So if I drag another one, and I change it to family, it should also spell something differently. So I think this is like halfway there. I can have multiple words. What's another word here? That's Christmassy winter. The next step I want to be able to do is that when I change horizontal and vertical, like right now, it's just changing globally. Like everything changes from horizontal to vertically. I want to be able to change individual words. So, because check this out, right now it's just everything changes. So I'm going to do pretty much the same operation. I'm going to go back to that word component. And I want a parameter that applies only to that component. So I'm going to create one here, a new one. I can give it the same name. I can call it orientation. Orientation. Just gonna change the order here so it kind of makes sense to me. And this parameter is of the type, let's change the type, is of the type select, because you want to select from two different things. So I'm gonna click select, and as soon as, immediately I get this edit the options for select. So I know there is one option that we call horizontal, and then I press enter, and there's an option called vertical. And so that sets the options. So that just kind of sets it for the parameter. I can select from, oh, okay, yeah, it's because it's called orientation. Actually, I shouldn't name it orientation because I would get confused. If it confused with these one, I'm actually going to rename it word orientation. There we go. So now if I change these one, it got kind of auto added. So yeah, so here we go. That's a funny way to do it. But yeah, importantly, this word orientation right here, it's the one that applies to this displacement on the linear repeat. And this is kind of like a sort of relatively obscure kind of code way of expressing things. It essentially says that if the choice is horizontal, then displace it in this fashion, and if it's not, then displace it in this fashion. That's for the nerds out there, it's called a ternary operation. So let's see if that applies to individual words. So if I select this one, I make it vertical. So it's only changing the individual word, and that's what I wanted. So yeah, I think at this point I can actually start arranging things, because I have individual words that can have individual orientations. So let's look at the inspiration for these. So I think the idea is that these all kind of should fit in a circle, and I can arrange a bunch of words or names if you want to. So I'm gonna try and do that here. Let's see. Let's add a couple more. So again, I'm grabbing the one I just kind of heavily modified, the one called word. I'm gonna place it here. I'm just gonna place a couple of those, or a few, into this kind of arrangement component. And then let's just arrange. I think this would be the fun part. I think once you have these, then you can like create different arrangements. So let's see, I got Mary. I don't know, Sparkler, and Snowfall. And then importantly, what I want to do here is kind of arrange them in such a way that they kind of match. I guess that's how the game works. So I'm just gonna, but importantly for the way you want to arrange it is like, I want to drag things from points. So when I move my mouse over these letters, you'll see that little points get highlighted. So I'm going to grab it from the midpoint. I'm going to place it here. And then I want to grab this one also from the midpoint. Let's make it vertical. It's getting kind of crowded over here. But I want to grab it from the midpoint and kind of make it match with the other midpoint. So it kind of snaps together, and it's like, plays right on top. I suppose I'm fine making it overlap. I think that's kind of like more fun to create the composition. I suppose you could also spell something like airy, and then instead, place it like so. I don't know. That sounds like a lot of thinking to me. So I'm just gonna keep it. I'm just gonna overlap it. So I'm gonna overlap that one. Let's grab another one. Let's call it. I'm not a great player of this particular game, so I'm not coming up with a particularly clever composition here. I bet, hardcore players could like actually come up with like clever ideas. I'm just kind of like trying to match letters. I suppose you could like, you could have a nice sentence. I don't know, this is funny here, sparkler. And then a winter, so make it vertical. Should have placed that snow. Doesn't matter. Let's leave it at that. But you get the idea. You can like create your composition of like different letters and different combinations. I suppose. I guess you could add individual letters, like say if you wanted to do something across. Like I turned Cuttle into this name, into this game. If I create an O, I should be able to put it here. Yeah, why not? But we want to turn bottom left. Yeah. But now we want to turn this into a cuttable thing because we want to make it into a laser cutting project, right? So the next thing I want to do here is I want to kind of join things in the fashion that they're joined for the keychain, like here. Because here, the clever thing about this particular project is that you can see that the lines in between the letters are blue because you can make them into scores. So when you cut it, you cut the outside, but the line gets scored, meaning it doesn't cut all the way through, but creates a nice kind of separation. So we want to give it that particular treatment to this arrangement that we made. So in order to do that, I'm gonna leave this arrangement as is. It's just the words, and I'm gonna create another component where I'm gonna kind of sketch my ornament. So in that component, I'm gonna grab the arrangement and I'm gonna place it in here. Doesn't matter too much where I place it. So here is where I'm gonna give the treatment to my arrangement, but I can always go back to the arrangement and make any changes, add more letters or things like that, and then this treatment here should kind of remain. So I think the first thing we wanna do is we wanna join all the red outlines and then score the center lines. And so for that, we're gonna be using this weld and score modifier. There is one slight downside here. If I were to select everything and apply the weld and score modifier just as it is, where is that? Weld and score, right? Oh, I'm hiding it. Yeah, the weld and score is like all the way down here. If I apply it, something happens, which is all the letters turn into scores. It got joined as we intended, but like the original intention is that the scores are only the lines in between, and then the letters themselves and the score and the letter number, it's engraved. So we want to keep that black. And the way it was solved in this particular project is that they created this selective modifier component. So this is specific to this project. This is not something that you can find across all Cuttle modifiers, but we're going to use it. We're going to make use of it. So let me go back to that one over here. So I'm going to delete the weld and score I applied. And then I'm going to instead apply this sort of custom modifier that exists on this project called the selective modifier. And the way that one works is that over here, there is a modifier that you choose. You can also type it, by default is the Boolean union, but I could also type the weld and score. And then in this particular case, I can tell it which color to weld and score. And in this case, in the case of this particular project, it should be red. So let me select red down here. So the cool thing about this is that it just took the red outlines, and then whatever the red outlines were overlapping, it created a score. So that's pretty sweet. And then there is one slight, another kind of slight problem that I created for myself is that if you notice that I overlap the letters, like for example here, if I move it a little bit, you can see that the O is actually doubled. And if I send that to the laser as an engraving, then the engraving is gonna engrave twice the O, which is not gonna make it deeper or darker and uneven. So that's not something I want. So I'm gonna actually apply the same selective modifier to solve that particular problem, which is to weld everything that is black, because all the letters are black. So I'm gonna select it again. I'm gonna apply the selective modifier. And so that one is gonna be the Boolean union, and that one is gonna be black. So it kind of seems like nothing happened, but then it should have welded those letters. Yeah, I could show you, but like let's move on. Let's try and finish this project. So as is right now, it should work for that project that someone mentioned where they wanted to do like names and then just cut it bigger. I think that would be cool. Right now, the tiles are set to 1 inch per tile, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, it's 1 inch per tile. And then this project had these tile options here where there was like a tile size that you could choose. But this one is, the way it's constructed is not necessarily going to apply to this arrangement that we made. I think is in this case, so we're going to have to ignore it. In this case, it's going to be better to take this arrangement and scale it down altogether. So I can basically select it as a group. Maybe I could group it too. I could select here and then apply the transform and then scale it all together. So I could make it into kind of like a little ornament, because right now without scaling it, the way it's constructed is going to be 9 inches by 10 inches, which is fairly big. I mean, probably fits in your laser cutter, but for an ornament, you probably want something smaller. Say for an ornament, you might want something like a 4-inch wide or something along those lines. So now this one is 4, even smaller. Let's scale it to 0.4. And so for the ornament part, I would want a circle, for the outside. I'm going to place it on the center. I'm going to make it about 4 inches, 5 inches. If that is 5 inches, then maybe I should scale this a little bit more, scale it down. Then I want to cut the outside of that ornament. So I'm going to make it red. I probably want a hole to hang it. Let's make that hole like 0.2 inches. And just kind of taking inspiration from what we had here, they also added these like lettering, these letters on top. Let's not copy it too precisely. So I'm gonna actually try. If I search for text, there should be a type of text down here called text around circle. So I'm gonna grab that one and place it right on the center. I'm just gonna place it at the bottom. Of course, you could place it on top if you wanted. There is this option up here that will place it on top. So text around circle. I wanna type something Christmassy. A playful holiday. Let's change the font to something scored. The way this text around circle works is that you get this circle, and if you change the scale of the circle, then the letters kind of follow. So I just want to make sure it's within the one I created. I probably want to make that into a score as well. So we're using blue for scores, and I probably want to move these around so it doesn't overlap with the L. Pretty close. Let's move this up. I think the final detail I would add here is that, of course, I want to cut the circle separately from the letters. So I want to make those into two separate things. So that means I actually want this arrangement to be separate from the circle. But I still want some sort of guide to help me glue these onto the ornament. And so what I can do in that case is that I can just grab the same arrangement component I made. It's kind of like a way to, you know, in this case, I'm using components as a way to like do different operations in different places. I know that I scaled it to 0.33, so I can kind of repeat that same scale on just the arrangement, 0.33. So I know these two are identical in size, and then but they just need a different treatment in this case, because now what I want to do with this one is that I want to create like an outline that helps me like place it. I suppose you could wing it if you wanted, but like let's be neat about it. So I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna give it a fill. So as you can see that, you know, by giving it a fill, it just kind of obliterated all the letters. And so now I can use the flatten modifier. It's all the way down here. Flatten. So that just selects all the gray and then makes it into a single shape. And I click on this stroke result. And so I just end up with that outline. And then what we usually do to use it as a guide for gluing things is that, well, first we make it blue, so it's a score. And then we contract it a little bit. So when you place this one right on top, you have like a guide for being able to glue it. So let's contract it. Let's select that one and add a contract. So that's obvious, that's too much. So we usually do like a little bit, just like 0.2 or something like that. So yeah, I think this is this was the project. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share these kind of modified template. You know, when I'm ready to share it, I'm gonna go to share and hit unlisted. And then there's gonna be this link. I'm gonna make some changes before I share it. But what you can do when you have these in your hands is that you can come here to the arrangement section and change it. So for example, you know, in the example I did before is that I added another word. And I need to change it right here. Life. And so I could, like, for example, add it down here. Just making sure again, I grabbed it from the midpoint and then I kind of made it snap to the midpoint of the other letter. And the nice thing is that now if I check what happened to my ornament, that word life got added to it immediately because we did all that work already. So so it's just added right there. So I think, yeah, with these arrangement, now that we kind of made all the changes, you can kind of move things around and play with it and like kind of do the fun part. I think that's the beauty of some of these templates is that like they serve as like starting points for you to like actually come in and not think too hard about it if you don't want to. But if you want to, you can obviously, dive deeper. So excellent. Thank you so much for coming to the live stream. I'll be sharing this video and this starting project in a little bit when I do some changes to the README, and I add this video to the README as well. So it's going to be there as a reference. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.